Welcome to the Happier and Healthier podcast. I'm your host, Maria Marlowe, and this is a place where we don't rely on good luck or good genes for our health and happiness, but rather we create it with our thoughts and our actions each and every single day. Each week, I'll bring you a thought or a guest that will help you live your happiest and healthiest life. Are you ready? Welcome back to the Happier and Healthier podcast. Today's guest is Amy Galper, the co-founder of the New York Institute of Aromatic Studies. I am excited to bring Amy to you guys today because I am a student of her school and I am learning so much about essential oils and aromatherapy, and I just knew I had to share it with you guys. Essential oils are becoming more popular and trendy, but there is a wide range of difference between different qualities of essential oils. And I think sometimes the benefits are a little bit overstated. They're not miracle cures for every single thing on the planet, but they are really, really powerful. And I've used them to treat or address a wide range of issues. I've used them in multiple different applications. So they are quite versatile and they are quite beneficial for our health, for our skin, our mood, and so much more. So I'm excited to just dive into essential oils and aromatherapy with Amy. A little bit more about her. She has been a certified aromatherapist since 2001, and she's also been a sought-after expert in the organic beauty and wellness space for just as long. She is the co-author of the book Plant Powered Beauty, which has been endorsed by Bobbi Brown, and she's also a member of Credo Beauty's Clean Beauty Council. Today, she's here to explain aromatherapy and how we can use essential oils to improve our mood, health, and skin. We'll also be talking about her book and how we can incorporate more natural skincare products into our beauty routine. Before we get started, check out these brands that make the Happier and Healthier podcast possible. The food we eat has the power to heal us or the power to make us sick. Food has been used as medicine for thousands of years, but with the rise of convenience foods and pharmaceutical drugs, real food has fell out of favor. It's time to take back your health by understanding what you're eating and how it's affecting your health on so many different levels. Order a copy of my book, The Real Food Grocery Guide, so you can learn how to choose the healthiest foods in every aisle of the grocery store. It's 5-star rated on Amazon and has been dubbed the most practical guide to healthy eating by renowned physician and healthcare researcher, Dr. Dean Ornish. I promise you it's an easy and fun read and takes the confusion and the frustration out of grocery shopping and healthy eating. You can find the book on Amazon, Barnes & Nobles, or Target. After you've purchased it, head to mariamarlowe.com/real-food-guide for 2 free PDF downloads, which are a bonus gift with purchase. These 2 PDFs include my guide to the best packaged foods for everything from nut milk to protein powder and everything in between. And you'll also get my guide to spices and superfoods. Plus, if you leave a review for the book on Amazon, email me a screenshot at info@mariamarlowe.com and I'll also send you back a free healthy eating meal plan. You get all of this for less than $20, and this just may be one of the best investments you'll make in your health. Amy, thanks so much for being here.
Well, thank you for inviting me. It's a pleasure.
So let's start with aromatherapy, as I know you're an aromatherapist and that's a huge passion of yours. So what exactly is aromatherapy and how did you get interested in it?
Aromatherapy is really, you have to think of it kind of as a mind-body practice. And I think often it's the quintessential expression or experience of what holism and holistic health is. Why? Because it literally incorporates in one application, whether you're smelling it or whether you're using it topically, of mind, body, spirit integration. Aromatherapy, as it's classically defined, is a practice using authentic and genuine essential oils, or you could call them aromatic compounds, aromatic little extracts, but that are extracted very specifically through the process of steam distillation or cold expression. And so it's using these kind of beautiful aromatic extracts, these liquid extracts, and using them to improve the balance of our life and how that's expressed both physically, emotionally, and I guess soulfully or spiritually.
Yeah, and I love that you mentioned that genuine essential oils, right? You sort of made a distinction there because essential oils have become really trendy and I'm seeing them everywhere. I mean, drugstores sell them. You can buy them online. There's all these multi-level marketing companies. So they're not obviously all the same, but can you explain a little bit what's the difference between one that you find, all the essential oils are like $5 or something versus the essential oils, which can actually get quite expensive?
Mm-hmm. Genuine and authentic essential oil, which is kind of the way that we like to call them, is an oil that's actually extracted from the full plant from what it says it's from. So if you say the plant is from lavender, then that means there's no other plant material and no other molecules that have been added to that aroma. That it's completely the most genuine and pure extract that you can get. What happens, as you described, is that essential oils has become a very popular, I guess, kind of alternative complementary care for the home user. We see that everywhere. And there's good reason for it. And after being in the world of essential oils and aromatherapy for 20 years, I guess at this point, back in the day, nobody knew what you were talking about and trying to kind of have a tool or a skill set to explain really what mind-body integration, it was really hard. And now with everyone talking about essential oils, everyone's kind of understanding the need to de-stress ourselves. So I think understanding how stress affects our health is direct. And I'm sorry, I'm giving a roundabout answer, but I'm going this way because it's about engaging our sense of smell. And so all these companies, right, that want to have lavender oil or peppermint oil or rose oil, ones that are commonly kind of fiddled with or adulterated, they're really going for a particular scent. So they might get a certain amount from the plant, but it doesn't match the scent that they're going for. So then they'll add maybe in another plant aroma, or they'll add a synthetic molecule until they nail that scent that they're trying to get to. So an authentic and genuine essential oil is what it says it is. If it says that it is taken from this plant, the botanical name is on the bottle, it is what it says it is. And there's no kind of manipulation in any of its processing that alters its molecular structure in any way. And then also essential oils really should only be extracted using that method, steam distillation. If you find that it's using different methods, like different types of extractions and they're combining things, that's also a little bit of a question mark. I don't want to really say red flag because those aromatic components that are manipulated for, let's say, the body care industry or perfume or used in certain ways are not like, I don't want to vilify them. They have a purpose. But for our purposes, when we want to engage like really kind of a holistic experience of mind, body, spirit balance, we really want to kind of go straight to the source because we're going to straight to the source of ourselves. We want to like get to that source.
Right. And I've been using essential oils, well, one in particular. So about probably over 10 years ago, I started using tea tree oil and it became a staple in my cabinet. I use it for everything, from acne to, disinfecting, whatever, all these different uses. You could use it for everything. But, I've tried a few different brands. And then more recently, I've been using sort of like a private label health food store brand. And I was like, oh, they're a good price. The package looks okay. I'm sure it's fine. And I have, a ton of them and I use them, like I'll smell them, I'll put them in the shower, whatever, diffuse them. And I didn't realize, because they do smell like the scent, I didn't realize the difference and how much less powerful they are compared to the authentic and genuine ones that you're talking about until I actually went to your school and studying aromatherapy. And you gave us real oils, like these real authentic oils, and they are completely different. Like I
Oh,
noticed when I
yeah.
smell the sort of private label type, those cheaper oils, even though it says 100% pure, the scent, it like stops at your nose. Like it's very flat. And when you smell a real essential oil, I feel like it's going up into my brain in a way, right? It's a much more powerful scent. And then even just using it topically, like I would apply tea tree oil just with my finger and it would be fine, this cheaper brand. And then using the real essential oil, I have like chemical burns on my on my finger from putting, using it directly. So there is a huge difference, but I feel like to the average person, you wouldn't know, right? Because when you open that lavender bottle, it smells like lavender to you. You don't know what you're missing out on. So,
You know what it is? Yeah, I think like what I want to bring up, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I think you're bringing up a really, really great point. And I think it models what's happening in our food culture and like what's going on with food and this whole movement towards farm to table. Where does your food come from? And I think everyone, even someone who is not like into oils or holistic health or whatever, they can totally agree, no matter where they are, that when you taste an apple that's picked off the tree, it tastes totally different than the apple you get at the shop, right? That's wrapped in plastic, that's in the styrofoam tray, and understanding kind of that difference of like what happens to that plant from the part when it's picked, and then all the processes, all the journey, everything that it goes through, its story before it gets to us affects it, both, molecularly, taste-wise, scent-wise, all of that. So in a way, like as you're talking about with aromatherapy, we also have to broaden our experience. Like that person who's tasting the apple off the tree, if they just grew up eating the apples that were wrapped in saran wrap and on styrofoam trays, they wouldn't know the beauty of the fresh picked apple until they taste it. So my thing to tell everybody is to do exactly what you did, is buy different oils from different suppliers from around the world and smell them, because I guarantee you don't need to be an expert. You just need to smell things, because our nose knows so much more than we think it does. And that we'll be able to detect. Maybe we won't be able to articulate it. Maybe we won't be able to really understand it, but we can sense what you said, something that ends and runs flat, and something that really permeates and offers a shift. And that's really what we're talking about. So I think you put it so beautifully, because we want to be able to kind of have that experience. So I totally tell people, buy something for $3 off of Amazon. Go to the store in your neighborhood and get the one for $20 and see if you can figure out what they're talking about. That's the best way to learn.
Right. And just comparing the two, that's what it was for me. Is I took the oils home and I took my one out of the bathroom cabinet and I smelled that, and then I smelled the other one that I got from your school. And I was like, okay, wow, there is a big difference. So it's really, you have to experiment and try, because then I would have never known otherwise, honestly.
Exactly. And most likely the ones that are mass produced, like probably the one that you got at the drugstore, or I would say, they're obviously, if it's at a drugstore, they have to like come up with like thousands of units, right? So they're creating this in a larger scale. Is what I said before, is they have a certain profile, right? Because if they know CVS or Duane Reade or whatever big drugstore, those are the big ones here in New York City, that they want to buy 1,000 units of tea tree, they know that the customer who bought it last month, it needs to smell exactly the same to hold their customers. So now plants, just like apples, one season they're delicious, one season they taste mealy and horrible. Same with the tea tree, right? One season you would get this beautiful oil that permeates your soul. And the next season, there wasn't enough rain. It was too much rain. There was microbe that infected the leaves, or whatever nature kind of scent affected that growth and affected the oil production in the plant. So the yield is going to be different. But, a big company is not going to have patience for that. They're going to be, wait a minute, I need to make sure my oil is the same as it was last year. So that's when they do a little bit of what's called standardizing, where they kind of bring in another molecule, or they bring in, and what we hope because a lot of essential oil companies do standardize, and I'm not fully against this, is sometimes what we want when they do that is we want it to come from the same species. Do you know what I'm saying? So let's say I'm going to mix those two or do something. I want it to come from an authentic plant too. But what happens in these larger things to cut costs, they'll make that molecule in the laboratory and they'll add something synthetic to it, or they'll add a molecule from another plant. Do you know what I'm saying? To help that. And that's when you start to manipulate it, where it becomes further and further from the truth of what it is. And you can smell it. Just like
you can smell it. Yeah. And it's definitely less effective too. Like the tea tree oil I was using was effective and it helped, it worked for certain things. But now that I'm using this other one, it is way more effective
Absolutely.
in, treating skin issues. Like it works much faster. It's much more powerful. So yeah, definitely. If you're going to invest in essential oils, make sure you're getting real aromatherapy grade essential oils.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk a little bit about how the essential oils work, because I think for most people, the idea that you can just smell a beautiful scent and it could affect you on a physical level is a bit foreign. So how right? So well, first let's start with what are some of the benefits that you can have from smelling essential oils, and then how does that actually work?
Okay. Essential oils, like I said, are really unique plant extracts that come from the plant. All right. And they're a very unique collection of molecules that are extracted, right, from the plant. And when we think about extracting things from plants, we deal with that every day, right? We have olive oil. Everyone uses olive oil. That's a plant extract. They squeeze the olive. What you get as a result is the extract is olive oil. Another extract that we do is making chamomile tea. You take the chamomile, you put it in the hot water. It turns the water a certain taste and fragrance. Boom, you have an extract there. So an essential oil is the same concept. We're extracting a certain set of molecules, and those molecules happen to be the volatile ones, the olfactory ones, the ones that we smell. Now, not only are they ephemeral because it's scent, we can't see it, they're actually physical, meaning that when you see the essential oil in the little bottle, it's a liquid, a dry, healing liquid. And so when you put that liquid on your body, it can get absorbed into our bloodstream and affect change, just like herbal medicine or even a pharmaceutical, like being an anti-inflammatory or easing pain or soothing a muscle spasm. It can work in that same way. The scent part of it is what's really interesting, is that those molecules that simultaneously get absorbed in our body and then help diminish the swelling, let's say, that also enters our nose first and then sets forth kind of domino effect of electrical signaling that happens in our brain. Our nervous system, as we all remember from biology in the 6th or 7th grade, is basically this whole big electrical switchboard that communicates through electrical signaling. That's what neurons are, right? When we see something, it triggers something, it triggers something. When we feel something, it triggers something, it triggers something. And it's almost like this little relay race of messaging. So scent is working and operating on the same way, in the sense that it's not actually, when we smell it, immediately getting into our bloodstream, like putting it on our body does, but instead it triggers this little relay race of electrical signaling, which, as one of the domino effects, is triggering our neurons to then produce a hormone or a chemical in our body that makes us do something. So if we smell something and it triggers the signal of fear, then that signal tells our body to manufacture hormones and chemicals that prepare our body to fight off the fear. If we smell something that then triggers an electrical signal that then makes the body that we find pleasurable, then our body then starts to produce hormones. Let's say we smell a pleasant smell to eat, then it starts making all those hormones that make our stomach growl, and the juices and the acids in our digestive system suddenly start to work. So even though the smell is invisible, we can't see it, it feels all hocus pocusy, it actually can affect our physiology by having our body neurologically off these signals that then trigger actual physical production of chemicals that become our hormones, that become things that regulate our internal world. So that's really, I mean, I really totally broke it down, but that's kind of how it
No,
works.
that's exactly what I wanted, because when you first think about it, you're like, oh, how can a scent really affect anything? But
Right.
when you're saying that, and I'm just thinking, yeah, when you smell something delicious cooking, your mouth starts to water, right? Or you
Yeah,
smell certain food scents, you get hungry, right? So
absolutely.
definitely, it makes sense that a scent can have a physical reaction in our body. And it's just a matter of us sort of extrapolating that and then thinking, okay, it's not just food that can make our mouth water. There are actually certain scents and oils that can also do the same.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So, what are the best ways if we want to inhale these beautiful aromas of the essential oils? What are the best ways to do that? I know there's various different types of diffusers. So, what's the best way to do that?
Really, there's so many ways because essential oils are like so fragrant. So, like, there's so many different ways you can do it. So let's say you're moving around all day running errands, but you want to be able to smell something on your way. There's these little things called inhalers, personal inhalers, where it's like this little tube. It looks like a lipstick tube and it has like a cotton insert. I mean, it's a little more specialized, but let's say you don't want to go through that and find that. All you really need to do is get a cotton ball, drop a few drops of essential oil on it, put it in a little jar, empty jar that you have at home, like an empty spice jar, empty baby food jar, empty cosmetic jar, and just put it in that jar and then uncap it and smell it throughout the day. That's a great way. Another way is you can make a roller ball, which are those really great. I know they're really like trendy now. They're about 10 milliliters, third of an ounce, little tube with a ball on it that you roll. And you can just drop some essential oils with a carrier. You definitely need like olive oil or almond oil, grapeseed oil, MCT, something like that to disperse the essential oil. And then you can roll that. Or you can have a diffuser, like you said, and there are hundreds of different kinds of diffusers. There's diffusers that are USB. You could plug it into your computer and have it diffuse while you work at your job. There's things for your car. There's ones for the home. You can get a nebulizer kind of diffuser. You could get like a vaporizer that uses water kind of diffuser. So there's many, many choices. And I think honestly, all of them work if you're using an authentic essential oil, because you definitely don't want to diffuse something that's made mostly of synthetic molecules, because you won't get the same kind of effect. And it also could, for someone who's very sensitive with allergies, cause maybe a little irritation, like respiratory wise. So I would just try to really get a pure one, because you don't want to cause irritation in your sinuses, or, you know what I mean? You'd want to watch out for that. But really, and I think that's a great way for a beginner to start with essential oils, is just start diffusing them, or carrying around a little bottle of like lavender and just opening it and smelling it throughout the day. To me, that's the best way. So it doesn't even need to be so elaborate. Like you could just have a couple oils in your pocket and like, that's the way you're doing. You know what I mean? It can be
Right.
really simple, because I think really what we need to do is just engage our sense of smell. And the more and more we do, the more conscious of things that we'll become. And I really believe that the more we smell and the more we engage our sense of smell and the more we deepen that sense, because that's also something we can learn, I really think it can help improve our health. So like I said, just carrying around a bottle with you, I think is a great first step.
Yeah, and it's really nice to smell a pleasant smell. And I think that's why there is this proliferation of even these like the synthetic scent products now. I see like these
Mm-hmm.
diffuser sticks and oil and, the plug-in things and the
Oh,
air
right. I
fresheners.
forgot those. I forgot it. Those are other diffusers. Exactly.
Yeah. And it's really important to stay away from the synthetic ones, because a lot of these synthetic scents, they can actually affect the hormones, right? So just as the natural things can have a physical effect on our body, so can the synthetic things, but the synthetic effects tend to be more on the negative side. So it's
Yeah.
really important to use the natural.
Yeah. And they're more irritating, I think, too. Our body doesn't know how to process them. Our bodies are made up of the same molecules that the plants are. So when we recognize that smell, our body's like, oh, I recognize that molecule, but a synthetic molecule, even though they try to make it totally synthetic, naturally identical, you see that term a lot now, natural identical. It's not really. It's not really coming from nature. Our body recognizes that and it doesn't know really where to process. So those, and this is kind of, even when we're talking about clean body care, this is where the problem comes because our body doesn't know when it absorbs these unfamiliar molecules. It doesn't even know how to work it through our body to get rid of it. Whereas with a natural molecule, one that's really plant derived or directly from the plant, our body knows how to synthesize it and excrete it. Where a foreign one, we're like, the body's like, what do I do with this? So it lingers in our liver, it deposits in our fatty places, it hangs on us for years and accumulates. And that could cause health problems in the ultimate at the end.
Yeah, it reminds me, it's very similar to junk food, right? It's food, like you could eat it, but our body doesn't really recognize it. And it's the same thing.
Right.
It's going to hang out in there and cause some problems. So no junk smells,
Exactly.
and scented candles they're so popular. And look, they smell good. They smell really, really good. But it's actually unhealthy to be burning these things, especially on a regular basis.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So if you want your home to smell good, invest in a diffuser, and they're not even that expensive, and some good essential
really
oils.
not. Yeah, totally.
So I want to talk about skincare, but before I switch over to skincare, I'm curious if you could only use 3 essential oils for the rest of your life.
Oh my gosh. I would say if I could only use 3 essential oils for the rest of my life, definitely lavender, definitely, I would say Helichrysum and Frankincense probably would be my 3.
Okay. And can you elaborate a little bit why?
So I'm stuck. There's one that I kind of want, but I think.
What would be the 4th one?
The 4th one would be sandalwood. But, what essential oils you gravitate towards also, I think, for me, I've been using them for like 20 years. Like it always changes. I went through a period where I was really into conifers. And I was like, couldn't get enough hemlock spruce and white pine and black spruce. And I was just like so into those. So I don't know, we go through phases. You're catching me on a different phase right now. But lavender, mostly because it's really just, I think, such a all-purpose, powerful balancer. It really helps balance almost any condition, any frame of mind, any situation. And I really believe that all of our imbalances or all of our stressors, our problems, our challenges, our obstacles in life really all stem from being in a reactive place, like not knowing how to react to the external stimulus. If we get inflamed or we get, angry or we have an allergic reaction or something. And there's something about lavender to me that really helps kind of take that breath so we're not in a reactive space all the time. And then also it's really antimicrobial, antibacterial. It's a really great cleanser. It's really gentle on the skin, all of that. That's lavender. Frankincense, I would say for very similar reasons. There's a lot of, like different ways you can use frankincense. It's very, I was going to say like malleable, like it really changes. Versatile, like different ways. And one thing I really love about it, and I was really kind of vacillating also with rosemary, but there's something about frankincense that I find really good for clearing the mind and also really beneficial to opening the breath and like really helping us breathe. And our breath is essential to our life. I mean, not only if we don't have oxygen, all those other functions, nothing happens, but it really is an expression, I think, of it's almost like our soul imprint, our breath. And there's something about frankincense to me that really resonates and nurtures that part. But then also, like lavender, it's antimicrobial, it's anti-inflammatory. So if I was injured or I was in pain or if I had an infection, it has a lot of really beautiful uses. Helichrysum I chose because there's something about that aroma that just really I find very nourishing and protective of my emotions. And I find that it's very grounding. It's also really regenerative, both in its actual physical properties of being tissue regenerative and wound healing. But I almost even think about like this regenerative life thing, almost like it connects to my chi or my prana to kind of help, get it always regenerating. So I think that's why I chose those.
Those three.
And
And
they
what about
also
sandalwood?
smell really good. They smell good together, those three. Sandalwood, I love, but it's having such trouble. The traditional sandalwood that we know, the Sandalwood is, near extinction in India. They're growing all these farms of it down in Australia, New Caledonia. There are some really beautiful plantations of it that I think are producing exquisite oils. Sandalwood, I would, because like the other oils, it has so many versatile applications from antimicrobial, antiviral, anti-inflammatory. But one thing I really like about it is it's very cooling. People don't think of it as cooling. I always found it cooling. And then I read actually that in Ayurvedic medicine, they use sandalwood as a cooling, like to reduce fever. But I always found it to be a very like cooling oil. And so I find for emotions, for centering, for calming, for skincare, it's just beautiful. And it's very soulful. It's very quieting. I find it, we live in such a kind of overstimulated world. There's something about sandalwood that really, I think, cuts that edge off. So.
Yeah, it's a beautiful scent and it's used a lot now. I'm sure
Yeah.
probably not the original, or the authentic version, but I see it, it's used
everywhere.
In so many
it's
candles.
really one of the most that can be highly adulterated. You know what I mean? That can be really manipulated. So you want to make sure that you've got it's close, and it's going to be expensive. So that's one marker is that, a 5 ml bottle shouldn't be less than $50,
So let's talk a little bit about skincare, because we can also use the essential oils in skincare. You mentioned earlier, it's really important to, when we're using them, not to put them directly on the skin, to use a carrier. So I'd love for you to talk a little bit. I know you explain a lot in your book, Plant Powered Beauty, but how do we start incorporating essential oils and natural beauty products? How do we start using those in our skincare routine?
I think, as I mentioned before, essential oils can really get into our body like 3 ways: by applying them topically, by just smelling them through that olfactory signaling, and then obviously through diffusion into our respiratory, right? What we breathe in, which is why I said you want to make sure you're not breathing in a synthetic molecule that might irritate the lungs. So when we look at the olfactory system, we only have one way. We just smell it and that's it, right? There's like one delivery. When we breathe it in, there's one delivery. It affects our lungs. It comes in and gets into our blood. But what's so amazing about the skin is there are literally dozens and dozens of things that we put on our skin daily. Like, I'm sure if we were to ask anybody who's listening, like especially a woman, how many products did they put on their face before they even walked out the door? On average, it could be anywhere from 6 to 12 products that we put on our faces, on our bodies before we even leave the house. So understanding that then, as someone who's making skincare or launching a brand, you basically have 12 different opportunities to get to this person, right, of different products. And if you're looking at from a therapeutic perspective, like, I do, it's like, wow, I have 12 different ways I can affect this person therapeutically. I can put the essential oil in their cleanser. I can put it in their mouthwash. I can put it in their lotion. I can put it in their primer. I could put it in their lip balm. And then suddenly I have all of these different kind of methods, delivery methods, in order to help the body absorb these beautiful molecules to help kind of balance and revitalize and recenter. Now, what we put on the skin, though, isn't fully absorbed, right? So I see all these crazy statistics. Oh, your skin absorbs 60% of what it brings in and all of that. Well, I would say that's like a partial reality in a way, because our skin, even though it's like, less than a centimeter, it's like super thin. It has many layers in it. So what we put on our skin actually does get absorbed in those very first layers, but only about 3 to maybe 5, 7% can get deep enough to make contact with our blood vessels. And that often depends on the size of the molecules, of what we're putting on, the warmth and temperature of the skin, the friction. There's a lot of other things that affect skin absorption. But in general, we're only, I would say, safe 3 to 5% of those essential molecules are even going to get in. Where you're going to see the most effect is on those upper layers of the epidermis. So like when you were talking about putting the tea tree on your face, like, yeah, you saw an effect right away. It wasn't absorbing into your bloodstream, but you were affecting change on that very surface level of your skin. So when working with essential oils for skincare, we have like a couple of different layers that we're going for. Like, is this something that we just want to affect appearance on those upper levels of the epidermis? And what is it that women are struggling with appearance? Is it discoloration, skin tone? Is it acne?
Lines.
Is it lines? Like, what are those surface things that we want to affect or support in some way? So then we would look at essential oils that would help that. But then we might have something that's deeper, like maybe we want to affect collagen production or elasticity or sebum production, or some other kind of thing going on. We're going to then want to use a different base ingredient to kind of help us burrow a little deeper into the deeper layers of the skin. So really depending on what your intention is, like where you want to affect the skin, is then what you would choose as far as your base ingredients and your essential oils. But in general, whatever essential oil you use for skincare, I always recommend, like if you're only focusing on the skin, like you're not putting on something on your knee because you tore your ACL and you're like in pain or whatever. I'm talking about just like we're talking about body care, like simple body care affecting the skin. I really don't like to go above like a 2.5% dilution. So what really that means is that in 1 ounce of essential oil, 1 ounce of, let's say, olive oil, I don't want to put more than 18 drops of an essential oil, like somewhere between 12 and 18 drops, which you might say to yourself, oh my God, that's nothing. Oh my God, how is that? Like a teaspoon is 100 drops. Imagine that. And you were saying, oh my gosh, you only want 18. How could that even be effective? But believe me, it's very effective. So you always want to make sure that you stay within that range, right? Of about 12 to 18 total drops of essential oil per 2 tablespoons or per ounce. So that way you can get a sense, because that way then we're not irritating the skin. You can use it throughout the day, and I feel like that's the most effective way.
Right. So do you make a lot of your own then skincare products?
I do. I just tried a really great product that I loved very much from a company called Naturopathica. It's a skincare brand. She has a beautiful spa here in New York, and she had this gorgeous cleansing balm, which I've never made a cleansing balm. So I was curious. So I bought it to kind of look at the ingredients and see how it was done. But I thought it was a gorgeous product. But mostly I make a lot of liquid cleansers, like soaps, like foaming soaps and stuff. And then I make a lot of face oils, creams, butters, stuff like that. And then I've been playing around making shampoo. I'm trying to nail shampoo now.
I feel like
figure out. That's a hard one. That's very hard.
That's a hard one. And I feel like there's not a really, I haven't found a great natural shampoo on the market. And I think there's either like fake natural ones that have a natural picture on the front, but then you read the ingredient list and you're like, that's definitely not natural. Or there are ones that are actually natural, but your hair looks like crap. So it's like, what do you do?
Right? It's hard.
Yeah.
It's a tough one. Anyway, I'm trying to tackle shampoo now, I do make, I would say definitely I make all of my exfoliants, face oils, lotions, creams, body butters, salves, lip balms, that I all make. The cleansing balm thing I'm very curious about. I'm going to see if maybe I can figure that out. And I make a lot. I like gel serums. I enjoy making. Those are nice.
And you have recipes for all these different types of products so people can make them at home in your book. I'm curious if there are any specific ingredients that you feel like are under the radar right now. I feel like there's always trends in skincare. Like one time it's sea buckthorn oil or one time it's I don't know, turmeric or whatever. So I guess what's kind of trending now, or what do you think people are going to start paying more attention to?
Well, I think there's some amazing ingredients coming out of Brazil that I'm seeing that I never saw on the market before. That some really unique butters and oils, and even some essential oils like copaiba now is becoming a really big oil. It exists both as an essential oil and the resin straight from the tree. Beautiful, beautiful oil and aroma. That's more aromatic. But, as far as base ingredients, there's a ton of really cool butters and unique fruit and seed oils coming out of South America. And I'm becoming more and more fascinated by those. And I'm seeing more of them. A lot of Brazilian natural care companies are now coming into America. And there's one called Natura. They just opened one on 14th Street here in New York. But they're bringing, they're making people a little more aware of that. And I think that those are some really cool ingredients. So you're looking at things like, I'm probably going to butcher the pronunciation of all of this, but there is cupuaçu butter. There's muri muri, I think it's called. There's andiroba. I can't think of all of them, but there's about, I was anywhere from 6 to 12 that are coming in now that I find really amazing.
Yeah, sometimes you forget that there are other places in the world that have other plants, right?
Yeah.
Even with food, you're so used to going to the grocery store and you're like, there's only 20 vegetables, but then you travel and you're like, oh my God, what is this? I've never seen this before. So that's always exciting to find new products and new things to try.
Absolutely.
And what about makeup? So skincare, definitely it makes sense. And I feel like people are starting to wake up to using more natural skincare products. Even I see that Sephora has a natural section again, which is more natural than some of the other.
And they're trying. You got to give it to them.
Yeah. But what about makeup? That's another thing where I feel like it's kind of hard for natural makeup to compare with some of the.
It is very hard, but I want to say, I think we're in a really exciting little revolution going on right now. And I am very excited to say that I think Credo is really leading the pack. I think Credo Beauty has probably the most comprehensive and beautiful collection of color cosmetics that are completely aligned with their mission and values. They have some great products. I mean, lipsticks that really have long staying power, great bases and foundations. I think they still struggle with the mascara element. I think that's a tough one. So there are definitely certain SKUs that aren't, that are still evolving. They do have a gorgeous mascara, don't get me wrong, but that took longer to come out than the rest of this stuff. But I think that Credo has put together a really strong standard for color cosmetics about what's acceptable, what's not acceptable, and how to educate the consumer about that. So I think that's a really great resource. But I do think that this is kind of the new frontier. I think you're seeing a lot of really exciting new products coming out that actually really work and hold and have beautiful colors. Back in the day, 15, your palette was 5 colors. You had nothing to choose from in natural makeup. Now, you go into Credo, I just bought some lipstick there. It's there's I don't know, they have a ton of different brands with different lipsticks that have gorgeous shades, a really wide array. So I think there's a lot more out there. But, you want to make sure. And I think makeup is one of the hardest ones because the staying power and the color are really the two areas, the two ingredient parts that were always more synthetic because, synthetic stuff doesn't go away. It stays for a really long time. So you wanted that lasting effect. But I think there's some natural companies that are doing it really, really well. So.
Yeah, no, and I always just love trying new products and seeing what's out there. And there are definitely great color cosmetics and great skincare products. But yeah, I think sometimes when it's sort of like using natural deodorant for the first time. There's a little bit of a getting used to it period because it's going to be a little bit different. It's not going to be the same exact as the conventional.
And it will feel different. It will feel different. Yeah. It will have a different sheen. It will have a different look. But I think that, once you get over that hump, I think it's a much better, I think most people are very happy with it,
Yeah. What do you wish people knew about makeup or skincare that you think a lot of people don't realize? Or like why should they switch to
Well,
a more natural alternative?
I think it's back to what I said before, is that, our bodies don't know how to process these other molecules, kind of exactly what you said about junk food, right? Like we put, let's say, a lipstick on our lips, right, with these different, synthetic colors, and we wear it for 30 years. My mother has a color that she's worn for like 30 years. And even though, it took me, 3 months to go through my lipstick. I only use a little bit every day. But there's this issue of this cumulative effect of everything. Since the body doesn't know where these chemicals are really going, it mostly gets stored in fat cells or other area of our body and aren't as easily excreted or disposed of. So 30 years of wearing a lipstick then becomes quite a lot of that one molecule, where you think it's a little bit. So I think, and we're seeing this not only in cosmetics, but we're seeing it also in environmental toxins, right? That we think, I just used Raid in my garden, and only in the summer, I only sprayed like a quarter of a bottle every summer. But for 20 years, suddenly people are having neurological issues 20 years later. You know what I'm saying? So I think there's this, that I think that if we can really be a little more vigilant and understanding that both environmentally and what we put in our bodies and on our bodies has this cumulative effect, and understand that kind of long-term potential, I don't want to say damage being so scary, but potential issue,
Well, yeah.
It's hard.
It's true though, because I think we're so, just worried about now, what we're doing now, what we look like now, what we smell like now, all of this. So we're like, oh, we'll just use it. But I think that our whole idea of what aging is really skewed. And I say that all the time on this podcast. I think in America, we think of aging as getting sick, right? You get old and you get sick and you die. But you don't have to get sick. Like that doesn't happen everywhere in the world. You just get older, you get wiser, and then you die, So
Right.
I think that it's quite obvious that over time, all of these things that we're bombarding our body with, whether it's the food or pollution or the chemicals and the products and all these things, it takes more time to build up, and then we're seeing the effects later on. So I always like to say, whatever we have control over, like we do have control over what lipstick we're using. So that's where we can make a difference. We might not have complete control over where we're living, right? Because we have to be here for a job or whatever. And the pollution there, it is what it is. So wherever you have that control, that's where you can make the best choices to limit your exposure to these things.
Absolutely. So well put. Absolutely. I'm in full agreement.
So one question I love to ask everyone on the show, and this doesn't have to do anything with what we talked about, although it could. If you could leave our listeners with one tip or piece of advice to live a happier and healthier life, what would that be?
I would say that, and I'm inspired to say this by my late father-in-law, who this was one of the things that he liked to say, is that life is really a mental experience, meaning that we can choose how we respond to things. And I think that we can live a much healthier life if we're not always reacting, and that we take more time to respond and understand, as you said, that sometimes, that we have to understand that we can never control the outcome, but we can do our best to respond to what's going on. And this is where I think essential oils are so key, and why I use them daily in my life, is to help me with that, to help me, right? I can't control the outcome every day, but I can control my response to it. I can control all of that. And that's where essential oils can come in as a powerful tool to help us kind of be in that space of response. So yeah.
Very well said. If you're obsessed with essential oils like I am, or simply want to learn more about them, aromatherapy, or natural skincare and beauty, then I highly recommend you check out Amy's school, which you can find at aromaticstudies.com. If you decide to sign up for a course, be sure to use the code HAPPIER, HAPPIER, for 10% off. Personally, I did Aromatherapy Level 1, and I'm looking forward to doing Level 2. But there are a wide range of interesting courses, from perfume making to making your own skincare products and so much more. So if this at all interests you, definitely go check out her site.